Recording. Good. Okay. Hello everybody. I hope you're all well. The title of this video is Q&A and all good things. And the reason for this, all good things come to an end. And the reason for this title is I'm going to be taking my leave of YouTube for a little while, for the immediate future. I will be back, but this will be my last video for the immediate future for a while. Why I'm going to be doing this, I will explain further toward the end of this video. This is the end. Ironically, since my last video with Julian, and also I did a video recently where I said it can become a bit overwhelming at times with the amount of emails and people who want your help. And I said that it can become a little bit overwhelming. Ironically, since then, particularly since I made the video with Julian, my email inbox went batshit crazy. It's just fucking mental. But I'm going to get into a little bit of a Q&A, and they're pretty much all about the same subject. Not all of them, but most. So that's the subject I'm going to deal with in this video, because you all seem to want to know that. And it's a subject that's become a little bit of a hot potato, it would seem, within the tinnitus community. Now, before I even start that, when I make my videos, I like to make it clear and clarify that anything that you hear me say is my experience and my opinion, and I always try and be fair, balanced, and above all honest with anything that I say, and this video is going to be no exception from that. So if you don't agree with me on anything I'm going to say, that's okay, that's fine, that's cool, okay? I don't claim, you've heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again, I don't claim to have the definitive truth on all things tinnitus, I never have, and nobody can claim that they do, okay? No one can claim to have the definitive truth on all things tinnitus. That's just the way it is, alright? I can't say if a method, treatment, is definitely or absolutely going to work for everybody, or if it's not going to work for everybody. I can just give my advice on what has worked for me, and is working for me, is helping and has helped me, and may and does help others. Having said that, what I can say with absolute truth and definitive truth is when I talk about what's worked for me, regarding myself, as it's me I'm talking about. So that I can and will do. So I hope that's clear. Okay. So, in looking at your emails and your messages, and my email inbox has just gone crazy. I seem to get more emails than I do posts on YouTube. I guess it's more of a private way of doing it. Right, Q&A. Let's address, I'm going to address the subject that a lot of you guys wanted to ask me about. And this question came from all, and I do mean pretty much all, the people who usually ask me questions via email. You all want to know about this. The diet and fasting I was starting that I spoke about. Okay, so, now this included and involved eating food and food types that are beneficial in reduction of tinnitus, and cutting out food and food types that are detrimental. The same for drinking, cutting out tea and coffee and anything with caffeine in it that aren't good for you. Also, anything pretty much that's, you know, crap, like fizzy drinks, sugary drinks, all that kind of shit. Okay, so you're cutting all that out to in fact, you're just drinking mineral water. Okay, and fasting, you're fasting and you're taking cold showers and you're working out exercise. Now, I'm not going to go into microscopic detail with this. It's just going to be how I found it, what I think and what I've done and what I'm doing. So I did this for just over 3 weeks. And so how did I find it? The cold showers I actually enjoyed, particularly after the gym, so no problem with that. The foods that were on the good food list that are supposed to be beneficial in helping you reduce your detoxing, etc., etc. I was eating pretty much all of these already within my own low carb, my low carb, high protein diet, such as fish, red meat, chicken. Although with this your carb intake is practically zero, but I was already on a low carb, high protein diet to do with training. I spoke about this before. So as I say, all the good foods I was already pretty much eating. So for me, it was really just a case of lowering my carb intake further, and of course you're fasting, so it was a case of, you know, I wasn't eating as much as I usually would. Furthermore, I'd already cut out coffee and anything with caffeine in it before I started this, so no problem with that. I did really miss drinking the protein shakes because I have those with milk, so I did really miss that. But I stuck to the mineral water, so far so good. Now, when it came to the fasting aspect of this, I have to admit, this I found the severity and I found it more difficult and troublesome than I initially thought it would be. But I carried on with this. And initially my tinnitus actually went up. All right, it initially went up in volume. As the fasting, it hit me pretty hard, and it caused my body to go into a state of shock, and I went into fight or flight, the fight or flight state that we all know about, and so my tinnitus got worse. However, this was to be expected, and I wasn't surprised that this happened. So I wasn't that concerned about this. Also, there is the aspect with a lot of people that while fasting, many people will have this reaction of their tinnitus actually getting worse to begin with because of the detoxing aspect of this. So it's not unusual for this to happen, and it's nothing really to be concerned about. But for me, because I already had a healthy diet, it wasn't the detoxing part of this, I think, that was a problem for me. It was more to do with, while I was doing all of this, I was still training at the gym with weights, with the same intensity that I usually would. And while I'm training at the gym, you've heard me speak about this before, this I found very helpful for my reduction of tinnitus, mind into the body, all that kind of stuff that I've spoken about before. So for me, I think that's why reducing my carb intake to practically pretty much zero while on this, because my energy level was so low, that's why I think fasting hit me personally hard. That's just my opinion. So initially, my tinnitus went up. So after initially my tinnitus getting worse, I did settle back down into more of a relaxed state, and just after the first week, and I did this by my usual methods that I spoke about in all my previous videos, and I just basically relaxed my mind again and got back into a relaxed, calm state. And just after the first week, my tinnitus came back down to where it should be, where I'm used to being, which is a level 1 or 2. So good. Which is, that's where I usually reside, around this level 1 or 2. And there's something triggers it to go back up again or spike it. But that's where I usually am, level 1 or 2. So I got back to this level 1 or 2 and I continued with the program, and by the end of the second week, coming into the third week, my tinnitus went down to level 1 to virtually 0. Okay, so it went to virtually, I'm going to say 0, right? So fantastic. But I've had this before, and many of you would have heard me say many times that I have already got to places and periods of time where I don't hear my tinnitus at all. I don't usually hear it during the day anyway. That's where I usually reside now. That's where I've got to. I don't hear it during the day, but I have had periods of time where it's true silence, and the longest period of this was 3 days, and I've spoken about this before. And also, before I'd started this program, just before I'd started this, I had an entire afternoon of true silence, what I call true silence, where I couldn't hear it even when I searched for it. Like, is it gone? Is it still there? And I searched for it. And don't do that, by the way. Okay, that's not my advice. Don't do that. That's something you shouldn't do. But when I searched for it, I couldn't hear it. So that's what I call true silence. So anyway, into the end of the second week, not hearing it, bliss, happy, elated. However, this state of 0 tinnitus soon got fucked up. I guess what? I'm getting pissed off at work, which I try not to do, as I know anger and stress cause my tinnitus to go up. Any negative emotions will cause your tinnitus to go up in volume. But sometimes I find others who cause me grief need to be told without being subtle about it, to fuck off and leave me alone, and be schooled in some actual facts and truth. Okay, as that's all they understand. Some people. Now, when it comes to disagreements at work, I'm rather good at verbal chess. And I used to be the official voice box person for the ground staff, and I used to get a kick out of this, outmanoeuvring the hierarchy at work, kind of like LBC's James O'Brien style. I used to enjoy that, having these meetings and outmanoeuvring until the hierarchy are left crying in the corner. But that was before I had tinnitus. Okay, so I stepped down from that position because although I used to get a kick out of that, what I didn't realise was that wasn't doing me any good, being in that state of mind. So I don't go down that road anymore unless there's no alternative. But I'm going off topic here. So after this episode worked, I calmed back down again. I did my usual self-service, and happily I got back within a short amount of time to a tinnitus level of pretty much virtually 0. So I wasn't hearing it at all. Even when I searched for it, it wasn't there. So all day not hearing it, great, wonderful, bliss. And this was only into the third week. However, coming into the fourth week, I made the decision to come away from this program. So I made the decision to stop doing it and come away from it. And the reason for this is the weight loss. I'd already been on a a low, what they call a cutting diet, low carb diet, before I started this program. And I didn't have that much weight to lose in the way of fat to begin with. My sister's a PT trainer, pro bodybuilder. She's had me training on a specific diet, yeah, I'm going to allow my vein streak to come forward here because this will demonstrate what I'm talking about. Right, that's a picture of me. That's what I've kind of trained towards. That's me there. Okay, I enjoyed that. And at that point, in those photographs, I'm at about 17 to 20% body fat. Okay, so that's where I was before I started this. And as I say, that's about 17 to 20% body fat. So I didn't have a lot to lose in terms of fat. Now, after the first week on this program, and as I say, I'd already been on a low carb cutting diet before I started it at 17% to 20% body fat. I lost 9 pounds in the first week of doing this. Now, for someone like me, who was already at that stage, that's a lot to lose in 1 week. But I carried on, however, and in the second week I lost a further 5 pounds. So for me, I wasn't prepared, and I'm not prepared to continue with that amount of weight loss at that rate. At least for me, that's the decision that I made for myself. I actually need to start putting some weight back on now in the form of muscle mass. So that would be known as a clean bulk, but that's another subject. So I came away from the program in its original form. But what I did do, and let me just make it clear that this is what I feel, if I haven't already made it clear enough, this is what I feel is best for me and right for me, okay? So what I decided to do, and am doing, is I have gone back to my original diet. But what I have done, because I think there is truth in this, and I think there is benefit in this program. But so what I've done is I've integrated aspects of this program within my own diet, my own version of it, let's call it that. So here we go, beeps again, like last time, technology. We live in a world of beeps. Jesus. Ice cream van would be probably around in there. That's my dishwasher. Why does it need to do that? Okay. Yes, what was I saying? So I've integrated aspects of the program within my own diet. So I've gone back to my own diet, but what I have done is I've integrated 1 to 2 days of fasting into this at this time. Okay, so that's what I've done. And I've done this because I do think that there is truth and something in this, in the cutting out of certain foods and other crap from your diet. Will improve your tinnitus, and also periods of fasting I think is also beneficial, and also beneficial for overall health. And I say this not least because my own tinnitus at this time today is virtually zero. I'm not hearing it. Okay, so what's my overall opinion? And you can probably tell I'm in a good mood today. So what's my overall opinion? Can improving your diet and eating certain foods and cutting out other foods be beneficial and indeed reduce your tinnitus? Yes, I think it can, and it does. Can fasting affect your tinnitus? Yes, I think it can. But what I also want to say is, so that's good news. But what I also want to say, and both myself and Julian touched on this in my last video, was that I was already, before I started this, in a calm, relaxed state of mind with my own tinnitus, and I'd already got to, from a level 10 suicidal, to a level 1 or 2 where I wasn't hearing it during the day, although it was still there. or I wasn't hearing it. And that was using the methods that I've spoken about, and a lot of it came from Julian, and Julian promotes, and my own methods. But I also do think that during that time, diet did play a part in that, but I wasn't aware of it. I didn't put as much importance on it as maybe I should have, because I had already had a healthy diet. So that would, I think, have been also a factor in how I managed to get from this level 10 to get into a level 1 or 2, where I wasn't hearing it during the day. So that's my opinion on that. But what I will say is, furthermore, being in a good relationship with my tinnitus, and I was already physically fit before I started this, and already heading in the right direction. If you've been with me a while, you guys will all know this. I have to say that I found the extended fasting an issue in the term of weight loss. I found that an issue, and also the initial spike that you will more than likely experience with this could be very triggering and stressful for those who are not so prepared or in such a good place and are full of anxiety and fear and dread. Okay, because a lot of us, when we're first struck with tinnitus, that's where we are. So just bear that in mind. Okay, just bear that in mind. I think you need to be in a good relationship with your tinnitus, or in let's say a good place, and not feel dread, anxiety, feeling dreadful, in other words, before you would start something like this. Okay, so just bear that in mind. That's just my advice, okay? But I do think there's something in it. Ultimately, because a lot of you have written to me, a lot of you wrote to me, and a lot of you wrote to me. Okay, just going through your emails and messages. Emily, you sent me an email and you're very concerned about this. Should you start doing this, etc., etc. Right, okay. A lot of you ask me the same kind of thing. Ultimately, I'm going to put it this way, because a lot of you have asked me the same question. Should I start doing this? Ultimately, we all have to make our own decisions and take responsibility on what we do for ourselves and what's best for us. Okay, we all have to ultimately take our own decisions and responsibility for ourselves. Okay, I do think diet and a level of fasting can be helpful, and indeed my overall, but as I say, just bear the things I've said in mind. All right, but overall, my overall opinion hasn't changed. I think diet is a part or step of recovery, but I do not think it is the be all and end all of everything. At this time, my tinnitus is a level 1. Well, it's a level 0 today. I'm not hearing it. It's just wonderful. It's just lovely. And I'm continuing with my own methods. As I say, mostly came from Julian. But the way I feel now, particularly today, and I'm feeling very good today, using my own methods and what I've learned from being on Liam's program, implementing all of this, I do feel confident now that I will reach total and complete recovery from my tinnitus. I think it's really on the horizon for me now. So I hope that's encouraging. I say this, I hope that's encouraging to a lot of you guys out there. Okay, a lot of you have been on this journey with me, and I know a lot of you are making progress as well, so I hope that's encouraging. Okay, so that is my opinion on that, okay, because you all wanted to know about that. So that's my opinion. So a little Q&A now. To just answer a couple of questions that have been sent to me. and I wasn't expecting this one. I was not expecting this at all. Mr. Razzle Dazzle, yeah, I haven't heard from you for a while. And we didn't used to get on very well, me and Mr. Razzle Dazzle, but we've come to an understanding nowadays, so good to hear from you. And you asked me, Mr. Razzle Dazzle, you asked me, okay, so answer me this, Aid. Okay, so answer me this, Aid. It's on YouTube. You said in a previous video that you did not see the point of audio devices and that it made your tea worse. So how come Mr. Hill says in this video, you're talking about my last video then with Julian, that he thinks they can be really helpful? Right, so what you're really saying there, Mr. Razzle Dazzle, is, I think, is you're saying me and Julian are contradicting each other. Okay, I think that's where you're trying to go with that. Right, so I'll answer you. So why does Julian think that they can be helpful? Because he does. Okay, because he does. If you watch the video, he does go into detail and give an explanation of why he thinks they can be helpful. The sound devices. So he does speak about this. So that's why he thinks they're helpful. So if you watch the video, his answers are there. For me, my opinion on these hasn't changed. I tried a sound generator, excuse me. I tried a sound generator device, and I made a video about this. And for me, the one that I tried, I just found it was just masking the noise that I was hearing as my tinnitus. And the idea was, when I spoke to the ENT at the hospital, the audiologist, the idea was that you habituate to this noise rather than your own tinnitus. Well, I don't see the point in that, and I've said this before, I don't see the point in that. However, if you're in that absolutely awful, dreadful place and you're really, really suffering, yes, they probably can help you, and I think Julian was, alluding to that. But I think this should be looked at as a temporary, these devices, the sound generator ones anyway, should be looked at as a temporary relief and not a long-term strategy towards recovery, okay? And let me caveat that. I'm talking about the devices that just play constant sound into your ear, like the one I had. The one I had was like the sound of a fan. I'm not talking about the neuromodulation devices, and I'm not talking about the new devices that are coming out from a company called Neuromod. Now this Neuromod company, someone sent me a lot of information about these because they're very, very excited about them. And they've got this particular one, it's the tongue tip device. Now this tongue tip device, it looks like one of the, it looks like an MP3 player type thing, like most of them do. But this thing, you've got like the tongue tip device. You've got like it looks like a plastic lollipop, and you stick this thing in your mouth, and I don't know exactly how it works. There is a whole video on it, which I have watched, but it sends shocks through this electric lollipop into your tongue, okay? And it's to do with the nerves, and that does look interesting. And they do say that there's been clinical trials for this, and multiple clinical trials, and the patients are experiencing a lot of benefit from it. But this device is all focused on, and the whole aspect of this device is it's focused on the idea of the hearing loss and tinnitus connection, okay? So for those of us without, that's the whole thrust of this this approach with this device, the hearing loss and tinnitus connection. So for those of us without hearing loss, or damage to our ears, would it work? I've no idea. I don't suppose it would. Do I think it works for others? I've no idea. I've got no experience of this. But for those with noise, trauma, hair cell damage, related tinnitus, I don't know. If you decide to try it, particularly you, Mr. Razzle Dazzle, let me know. Let me know if it works. But of course, it's and it's not something that I feel, because you also asked me would I ever consider trying it. I think. What did you ask me? Oh no, that wasn't you. That was somebody else. It's not something I feel I would want to invest in, certainly not at this time, because of where I am now. I don't need it, so why would I? And also it's going to be a considerable amount of money, thousands, to buy this thing. But like I say, anyone who wants to try this, or is trying it, let me know if it works. But my opinion on these things hasn't changed really. And if this new device, because I know one of you wrote to me, was very, very excited about this. If this new device is the holy grail for those with hearing loss, noise trauma induced tinnitus, then I'm confident that we'll hear about it, no pun intended. So we'll see. But my opinion hasn't changed on that, so I hope that answers your question, Mr. Razzle Dazzle. And I had another question from Pete. Pete, you emailed me. Only 6 questions this time, Pete. Only 6 questions. What's going on? You feeling all right? I'm just messing with you. It's fine. It's fine. Always good to hear from you. And you asked me. What else did you put? Sorry. You said, "Hi Aid, we'll try and condense my questions this time." Right, okay. I've got it down to 6. It's usually about 15 to 20. I've watched your video with Julian. and it was brilliant. But you did not speak about Liam's diet. How's that going? Well, I've spoken about that. And your other question was, right, you've told me you're not taking gabapentin. You told me that last email, and your doctor still wants to put you on this gabapentin. Just refuse it. Just refuse it. Do not go on gabapentin. I saw recently, I can't believe your doctor. I'd change your doctor. I saw recently on the television, there was a big hoo-ha about gabapentin and pregabalin, and it's quite serious. I would steer away from it. I really would. Do not take it. Refuse to take this stuff. And I would change your doctor, Pete, because you've asked me about this a couple of times, and he still wants to put you on the bloody stuff. Just change your doctor. Refuse it. Okay. I don't understand why he's so insistent on this. Don't take it. Right. And you also said to me, Aid, my audio files don't work anymore. Can you send them to me? You said you were doing them. You said you were doing them on DVD, but how would that work? Okay. Right, you're talking about the self-hypnosis meditation audio files. For those of you who don't know about these, I made a series of self-hypnosis is what they really are. Self-hypnosis meditation videos using a method that I found really helped me, okay, and it did, really helped me to begin with, when I was in the early stages of being struck with tinnitus. It really helped me in retraining my mind to not perceive my tinnitus as a threat, and ergo it put it into the back of my mind. It reprioritised it, is a good way of putting it. It reprioritised it as not being a threat. I didn't need to worry about it, and it did help to put it into the background of my conscious thought. That's the way I look at this. That's the way I put my take on it. And I found this method very helpful, and I've sent this out to a few of you. And yeah, as I say, I've sent this out to many of you, and they really need to be listened to in true stereo to get the full positive effect from these, etc. You're not alone, Pete. I've had a few of you say to me that they can't access these anymore on your tablets, your iPhones, whatever you're listening to them on. And it's something to do with Google Drive. They just don't work on that format anymore. I don't know why. That's the trouble with technology. It never bloody works properly, apart from plays lots of bloody beeps all the time, it seems. But the good news is, oh, and I did get an email from Google. Some of you might have had this. They are scrapping part of their social media package on Google, so it might have something to do with that. I don't know. But yes, I have them on CD now. I have them on DVD. I have them on CD now. And yes, I am charging for these discs. Okay, so I want to be honest about that. I will be charging for the discs. But if you want them, let me know, and send me an email, and I can give you the details. How do they work? Well, if you've got a DVD player, you could play that. If you've got surround sound, that would work. Alternatively, I can put them on CD for you if you want. Alright, but if you want them, contact me, and I'll send you the details. Okay, and I know some other people have got in touch with me and they can't access them anymore. Alright, but if you still want them and you found them helpful, just contact me. Okay, and I got a question from. I like this one. This made me laugh. I got a question from Deadpool. Yeah, got a question from Deadpool on YouTube. Love the Marvel movies, the Deadpool films. The dark humour in those is hilarious. I like them a lot. Always been a Marvel fan from when I was about 8 years old. Captain Marvel was shit though. It was shit. They really dropped the ball with that turd of a film. Brie Larson in that is so vacant and vacuous. God, hopefully Endgame will bring it back to quality and Thanos will blow her head off. But again, going off topic. It's probably going to end up being 2 videos. I'm talking a lot today because this is going to be my last video for a while. So I feel like I want to chat to you guys a little bit more than I normally would. Because I'm going to be going away for a little while. Okay, and Deadpool asked, you wanted to know. Excuse me a minute. Now we've got YouTube. We've got YouTube playing ads. You can tell that technology. If one thing is going to irritate me, it's going to be technology. Right. Okay. Fucking hell. Right. Deadpool, you asked me. Deadpool, I want to know, when you say about your tinnitus being a level 1 or 2, what scale do you use for this, and how do you know what level you're at? Where can I find this out? Where can I find this out? How to judge for my own tinnitus? And you also put, P.S. You're not stressed because you can't be killed. Yeah, well that's good, isn't it? Right, so when I talk about my tinnitus level, the tinnitus scale, like when I say level 1 or 2, etc. It's the scale that I use for my own tinnitus. It's what I've decided is a level 1 to 10. It's something I've made up, but it's something I've decided what's a level 1 to 10 in my head. And I'll try and get across what I'm talking about. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll find what I wrote down. Right, this is something I put together a while ago. And this is the level, the scale that I use. This is my take on it. Here we are. Okay, so level 1 or 2, it's there, but it's way in the background, not really noticeable, not hearing it during the day. Level 3 or 4, it's noticeable and annoying, but it's not terrible. Level 5 to 6, it's intrusive and it affects me all day and it's loud. Level 7 or 8 is very intrusive, it's very loud, fills my head and I can't function properly. And 9 to 10, just forget fucking everything. I can't even speak, I can't hear, and I used to do anything to escape from this, including dosing up on drugs like gabapentin. Keep away from it though. Don't use gabapentin or pregabalin. Keep away from it. I found out the hard way with those 2 drugs. Alright, so I just want to get that across again because I think it's important, especially for you, Pete. Don't take gabapentin, okay? I found out the hard way. It fucked me up. That's why my eyesight's bad, okay? It was because of that drug. My eyesight was perfect before I started gabapentin. My doctor put it on it. I think he did. He did it in good faith, okay? But that fucked me up. And now my eyesight's bad and now I have to wear glasses. And that was just taking it for 3 months. Okay, so keep away from it. And I know I've had some new subscribers since my... It wasn't really unexpected. Since my video with Julian, I've had some new subscribers. I don't know if you've watched my videos about gabapentin. And I've already spoken about it, but I think it's important. If your doctor tries to prescribe you gabapentin, don't take it. Okay, because it screwed me up and it screwed up many others. Okay, so keep away from it. All right. Okay. So yeah, Deadpool. That's the scale that I use. Okay. Now, at this time, and I've added a new number to that now, which is 0. And as I say, my tinnitus now is virtually 0. I can't hear it. Wonderful. If a lot of you have been with me since the beginning, I don't really know what I'm trying to say there, but it's just wonderful. That's not to say that I'm cured. I'm not claiming to be cured at this point, at this time, because while I was laying in bed last night, in a completely silent room, mind you, I could just hear it right in the background, so it's still there, lurking away. But as I say, today and right now, it's at a level 0. I'm not hearing it. Bliss. And obviously I want to stay in this state, which leads me on to I've got a lot of other questions here, but I'm not going to answer all of these because it's just, some of you I've emailed, because this is going to be my last video for a while, so I've emailed you personally. But that leads me on to, this is going to be my last video for the immediate future at least, although I will be back. I'm taking my leave of YouTube for an extended period of time, a hiatus if you want to call it that, holiday. And why am I doing this? There are a number of reasons. I hope you guys are going to understand where I'm coming from with this. When I made my first video, I had no intention that I would make more than a couple of videos. So it was a strange, it was a surprise to me that people actually wanted to hear what I had to say. It was a surprise to me, and initially it was just, it was just the idea of putting out a couple of videos. But then my subscriber total started to go up. There was people subscribing to me. I think Gray was one of my first subscribers, and I was his first. So initially it was just me and him bouncing ideas off each other. But other people started to get interested, and I remember being stunned and shocked when I hit 100 people. Now, unlike Julian or Liam, this isn't a full-time occupation for me. I don't earn a penny from doing this, aside from the audio files, the hypnosis files that I'm putting on DVD, and those I used to send out for free as through the internet. But aside from those, this is something I do to help others, help you guys out there to find your own methods and ways that are going to help you find your path to recovery. This isn't a business for me. This is not a business for me. And as I say, this isn't a full-time thing for me. My approach has always been, along with my own opinions on such things as audio devices, methods and treatments, but it's not a full-time occupation for me. I have a job, I have a family, I have my son Aaron, who's autistic, and he requires, when I have him, I have shared custody. When I have him, he requires 99% of my attention, and as he's getting older, he needs more guidance from me, and life also, and other life stuff, like we all have, just life stuff, okay? And I do find that life never stops throwing